We're live. All right, we're going to call our meeting to order at 1900 hours tonight. Any changes to the agenda?
Moving executive session to item 8 and everything else down 1.
Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? With that change, then we will adopt the revised agenda. Okay. Any comments on the minutes of the previous meeting?
I would move that we accept them as if they were.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right. Then we'll move to our public hearing.
Okay, I will do a short presentation. Sharing my screen, and then after we conclude, public can call in with questions or comments if they would like. Okay. Oh, there it goes, my computer. This is for the 2022 operating budget. It's our public hearing per RCW 84.55.121. The purpose is to provide information to the general public on the Fire District 4's proposed operating budget, including expected 2022 property tax revenues for the district. Provide an opportunity for the public to input before the Board of Commissioners take actions on next year's property tax resolutions. So we have not got finalized information from the county, but we will have a draft revenue, finalized expense, and we'll be doing the revenue resolutions at the next meeting, hopefully. First, I just want to kind of go over 2021 to see how we did with our budgeting from last year. I think, as everybody knows, COVID still having a major impact on various aspects of the district, whether it's operation, administration, or anything else. Throughout the year, for personnel, we completed our interim DC program. I believe that was a big success. We were allowed to do some section planning, career development, and kind of create a resilient organization by getting more people trained in more positions. And not only in the DC, but up through the battalion chief and lieutenants and so on. We've organized organizationally, we've solidified our structure. We've have 2 deputy chiefs hired. Hopefully adding a safety and support DC. We added a position in training and hired 8 full-time and 3 part-time firefighters, and various promotions have happened over the years. We've added 4 line positions to the organization, but we still continue to have loss of part-time personnel. Hiring was halted for much of COVID. We started that back up a few months ago and modified our initial training program by putting part-time people in the Regional Fire Training Academy, which so far it's been very successful. Equipment-wise, we've added a new staff vehicle, all new SCBAs, the new phone system was finalized, and the new brush truck was finished. We've continued to refine our hiring process. I think Chief Osborne, Chief Hodgkinson continue to make changes, and we feel that we're getting to a much better hiring process, getting quality candidates. We're seeing that as we put people through the academy. Again, reiterate the interim DC process is finalized. We're wrapping up the finishing touches on the project to get everybody a full second set of PPE. And again, this is one of the things that we would like to do to help for turnout times. That's a great segue into the next. We completed our standard of cover, our community risk assessment, and we'll be completing our strategic plan here soon. We've retained an architect to start on the capital plan. We have a new IT contract, new servers, and new IT security, which has all been a benefit to everybody. We joined the training consortium. We've had our first ever District 4 company officer, CO, in the regional training academy, which is a great way to be more involved in our regional partnerships. Our new radios were placed in service, and we added 2 additional enforceable entry training pops at the ROB. Yet to be accomplished. There was a few things that we had planned on getting done that did not get done. We actually wanted to add more staff vehicles. We will be doing that tonight, hopefully, but it'll come out of the 2022 budget. With the vehicle shortages, we weren't able to move as quickly as we wanted. We still have the property ownership and working out our relationship with the city. We were hoping to get a new engine person this year. Oops, sorry. But that will probably be pushed off until the first part of next year. And again, increased part-time staffing. So 2022, how do we want to move on from 2021? Obviously, continue emergency services and response. We want to improve and add to training. That's why we've added the position, and we continue to grow our RMS and LMS services and hands-on training. As we finish the strategic plan, we need to move into the implementation of the strategic plan to include the SOC recommendations and to ensure our data analysis programs are in place so that we can continually review and evaluate how we're implementing that plan and how well we're doing. We have a lot of equipment we still need to continue to replace, such as we'll see in the capital plan, our 12 lead and defibrillator equipment. We still want to increase our staffing consistency. We're getting our staffing up, but we still have big swings, which is hard on overtime and staffing. We want to increase our ALS service ability within the district. And we want to continue to job shadow positions to prepare for future retirements and known retirements. Start our capital plan facility replacement into more in-depth instead of conceptual, and finish contract negotiations. Again, you recently approved a contract for our data collection company, and we need to refine that and get our plan in action. Continue to finalize the participation in our county technical teams, including water rescue, rope rescue, USAR, and hazmat. Water rescue is pretty far along. Hazmat will be the next one, and rope rescue, it takes pretty labor-intensive amount of classes, 5 40-hour classes for rope rescue, so that will be the last one that we are able to be implemented. We would like to begin state mobilization participation with the recent brush rig and hopefully staffing changes. We'll be able to participate next year. Increase cooperative plans with neighboring jurisdictions, not just train with them, but we want to be involved in the planning process for the future. So we are involved in the designing and implementation of the training. We need to prepare for more promotional exams and continue our career development plans. So the budget. This is the draft expense budget. Large overview with just broken into salaries and wages, benefits, supplies, personal services, intergovernment services, and then our transfers. Obviously, the biggest increase is in our salaries and wages between cost of living contracts, and then we've put 2 additional positions in there to be funded so that we can continue that slow progression of increased staffing. Everything else is pretty much just normal cost increases. And we continue to do our transfers to fund our capital plans. To be able to fund our equipment replacement, engines, ambulances, staff vehicles, hose, defibs, all that stuff, and to continue to be able to fund our station facility capital plans without asking for additional tax levies. We need to be able to continue to fund in this amount. We've also increased our transfer into the leave liability fund because we know at least of 2 planned retirements, and so we want to be able to cover those and continue to build that fund for future retirements. Wanted to highlight just a few significant changes like I just did. Obviously 1101 regular pay, that's those additional line positions. You'll see 3153, we'll get to the more detail in a minute. And it's in the packet if anybody wants to look at the packet. 3153 protective clothing, there's a large amount where, like I said, we're finalizing that last bit to get everybody a second set of PPE. 3501 EMS tools, replacing outdated equipment. 3502 fire tools, same thing, replacing some outdated equipment. Large increase in 4208 newsletter. I think everybody has seen, we've sent out a newsletter already. We'll be sending out another printed newsletter in the next month. And we want to budget for 3 printed newsletters next year, along with monthly electronic newsletters, so that we can continue to increase our citizen engagement. We have a lot of other things planned that are not a cost, so that we're going to try to reach out on various levels to make sure that the citizens can interact with us in whatever means best fits their needs. Probably the one biggest percent change is 4935 Recruit Academy, a $91,000 increase. A lot of that comes from our 2021 recruits will be billed in 22. So we will move some money from 21 into there, but also there was unplanned recruits. We had to send some people through a second time. We've had to release some people. So for that position, we had to send somebody through twice. And so we had quite a bit more people through Recruit Academy. We had not planned on the part-timers going through the Recruit Academy. So all of that from 21 coupled with what we plan to do in 22 caused that large increase. At F80, the leave liability, I explained that the increase is due to planned retirements. Our revenue, from 2021 to 2022 is about an 8% increase, 6.8% into the fire levy and 1.8% from the EMS levy, and the rest is from other means. The one highlighted I just want to talk about, when we were budgeting for GEMT, it was a little hard to know where we were going because we didn't have a long track record. Now that we've had a few years of payments, what we did is we instituted a formula, and we're basically taking 80% of the last 3 years average. And so that we can kind of have a reason why we're putting that number in, and that's where that number came from. And that's why there's the big jump from 250 to the 567. And again, these are all estimates and drafts. Hopefully the next couple of weeks, we'll be getting more defined numbers from the county. Some highlights in 2022, our collective bargaining agreement ends at the end of the year, so there will be no current contract in 2022. So the cost of that contract are really unknown. Health coverage, one positive note, there's no increase in our health care costs for next year. So the change to the Northwest Firefighters Trust has been pretty beneficial for us. On top of that, we've got some increased benefits on top of the no charge. Facilities, again, we're budgeting a minimum repair and maintenance because we need to finalize our strategic plan so that we smartly use our money as we go forward. The capital budget's needs will be extremely large in the near future, so we need to plan and prepare properly. And then we do have the architect and the capital plan, and so those working together, we will hopefully have a very clear and complete capital project plan by the end of the year. And we'll still be working with the city to resolve some of those issues. So I just wanted to go through the specialized funds so that we can, oops, I put equipment up there. That should just say capital projects. So our F72 donation fund, we are going to purchase a Lucas CPR device out of that next year, which will expend most of the fund. F75, we have planned to replace our defibs, some hose, some of our MDC computers in the trucks, one engine, and up to 4 staff vehicles, and you'll be considering 3 of the 4 today. RLB, pretty status quo for the supplies, utilities, repairs, and maintenance. If we were to add a burn building or something like that to RLB, it would come out of F78. So this is just the normal operating expense of the RLB, so no changes there really. F78 facilities, pretty minimal for station improvements if needed. And then professional services, which is working with that architect to develop the capital plan. Nothing is budgeted for the capital plan because we don't have a fully vetted plan. And then the leave liability, that's the budget for the expected retirements. Training, again, we're going to continue our fire and EMS training as usual. We need to increase our administrative training. And that doesn't mean just for our administrative staff, but the administrative training for all of our workforce. We need to increase extra and outside training so that we're bringing new ideas in at the appropriate amount so that we continue to move the organization forward as needed. We need to complete the learning management system automatic reporting and tracking. We've got really good at the system. We've got really good at entering the records and providing the training, but we need to get a little bit better at automating the work so that it's not taking up as much time for our staff. And then equalizing all training to the part-time staff, making sure they get the same amount and quality of training as our full-time staff. Again, we have a plan to add a burn building, but it's on hold until we finish our capital facilities assessment so we know how much we need to fund that with. Although we could come to you at any time with that throughout the year as we solidify regional partnerships. So it's still on the front burner, I would say. We're trying to figure out creative financing so that it doesn't impact our capital plan. So as that gets completed, we may bring something to you. Again, we're continuing to work on partnerships with the RLB. We're now looking at possibly partnering with our regional partners for them to use Station 40 as a hub for the training consortium. And so we're continuing to build partnerships and make sure our facilities are getting used by the whole region in the most effective and efficient way possible. And we'll continue the maintenance on the RLB in the normal schedule. Revenue planning, just general. Our EMS levy was passed in 2019 as a lifetime levy, but it continually erodes the amount, and so it's likely that we'll need to ask for a renewal of that levy to the amount that we originally asked for in 2 to 8 years. August or November of 2023, our fire levy lid lift will need to be renewed. It was originally passed in 2011. Renewed in 2017, and we'll need to ask for renewal in 2023. If that doesn't happen, we would have to look at alternative plans to fund the capital, which would be a bond or something else in that area. If we are able to renew the levy lid lift and the way we have done it since 2011, I think our funding plan is set and we would not need to ask for additional funding. To know all that, we'll need to finalize the capital plan. Now we kind of get to the more detail. The expense levy, which again, the resolutions will be in the November meeting. The draft amount from the county for 2022 assessed valuation was $6 billion and change. The 2022 assessment, if we went with the HLL, which is what I would recommend, would be $1.407, which is a 0.051 decrease from last year. New construction is the 50,000. Increase in revenue from 2021 would be 547,952. The EMS, the assessed valuation is different because different property is exempt from fire versus EMS and so forth. So our EMS levy assessed value is 5.7 billion. The assessment would be, and I'll just go back. The original levy amount for the fire levy was $1.50 and it's down to $1.41 if we round. The original EMS levy was 50 cents and it's down to 43.9 cents. Next year, that would be a decrease of 3.6 cents. And new construction is 16,514. The increase from the 21 revenue for the EMS levy would be 43,849. It's a little hard to read. Again, this is the same as that first one I showed you, showing 21 and 22 compared. So it's just a recap of what we talked about. Salaries and benefits, supplies, professional service, and then the transfers. Oh, my computer's locked up. There we go. Sorry, trying to get that out. Anyways, if we went with the highest lawful limit for F70, we would have 8.8 million in revenue from the fire levy, 2.7 from the EMS levy, for a total in tax revenue of 11.6. Increase in revenue, but a decrease in our AV 8.6 cents per thousand. These are our options that you have for our levies. In different amounts. This is all in your packet. Again, we are recommending the yellow highlighted amounts. So this is the EMS levy at the top. The next one down is the fire levy. And the very bottom is the combined levy rate of the two. And then compared with 2021's levy rate below that. Again, the initial voter approved rate was $2 a thousand, and we would be next year at $1.84.6. And again, with this allows us to fund our capital plans at a reasonable rate. And that's all the presentation I have. The public, if they wish to call, can call 360-568-2141, extension 1050. Any questions from the commissioners? And there's a, go ahead.
Yes, you mentioned that there would be no change in the health care.
Yes.
But in one of the things we're gonna look at later tonight, it talks about for the part-timers with health care.
So no increase to the cost per
Individual.
Yeah, so
Okay.
each tier, so there's about like what, 6 or 7 tiers? Nothing, what they charge us for each tier is not gaining raise. It's not a 4% raise or a 5% raise or, yeah.
Okay.
And we'll have to wait a little bit because there's about a, I don't know, 30-second to minute delay.
Sure.
So we're just now getting to where the people heard they could call in.
Okay. And then I had another question about you were talking about we get billed next year for the recruit classes this year.
Correct.
Do we get billed of the full amount if one of the recruits drops out?
Currently, yes. If they drop out one day in, we get the full amount. The admin board, which we're a part of now because we're in the training consortium, we weren't before, actually voted to, I'd have to refresh my notes, but I believe if they are out before the end of the third week,
Yes.
we would get a 75% refund. So that won't happen for the current
Right.
class because it was already instituted, but the next class, the one starting in February and March, that policy will be in effect.
All right. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, shall we go?
To you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So no other questions from the commissioners?
Nope.
Okay, then we will move on to old business, 2022 operating special meetings.
Close the public hearing.
Well, I guess, yes, officially, I guess we have to close. So we will officially close the public hearing at this point and move on to old business, which is the 2022 operating budget.
And there was some changes from the draft that we gave you last meeting, but they were all fairly minor, nothing significant.
Yes. Was there any questions about those changes?
No, thank you for answering the questions I posed to you about this. So that was helpful.
Okay, accounts payable. Any questions about accounts payable?
Do we have we would need a motion and to approve did we do that? Expense budget?
Oh, the
2022 operating expense budget.
Oh, yeah, we didn't do that. So, okay, so I'll make a motion. We approve the 2022 operating budget as presented at this point.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, now, accounts payable. It's good to keep me honest. Any questions about accounts payable that have not already been answered? Then I'll make a motion. We approve the accounts payable as presented. Oh, we don't have to do that, do we?
Nope.
Okay, forget my motion. Let's move on to the transport waiver. We have all had a chance to review that. I will make a motion. We waive the entire amount.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
New business. Okay, so now we are going to adjourn to executive session. Our initial estimate will be 1 hour, maybe extended, no action.
There may be action.
Oh, there may be action.
Yeah. And I think I had a listed there of the possible action items.
There may be some action.
Yeah, admin staff contract addendums and, COLA.
Right.
May or may not be.
May or may not be some action. Okay. The initial estimate is a 1 hour. We may extend that depending on the discussions and issues that come up. So at this time, we'll adjourn to executive session. Is it member X?
Good to go.
Okay, thank you. So we will adjourn our executive session, come back to regular session. And do I hear a motion on?
A motion to approve those, contract addendums?
Okay, I'll second that.
Four.
Right, you're down there.
Yes,
But not the COLA, right?
that is correct. So the motion is to approve contract addendums for administrative staff for 4 people.
There's Larkin Finn, Jessup, Sherry Gatterman, and Christine,
Hearing.
and Christine Pike.
Yes. And any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Good. We are not taking action on the COLA at this point. We will at a future date. So that brings us to new business.
So we have started our auditors, our yearly audit. And part of that is the auditor wants to know if you would like for the board, the entrance conference to be as a whole board or an appointed individual.
So are either of you interested in attending that entrance conference?
I'm not.
When he initially come, or he or she initially comes, that's.
Yeah, they've already met with Mike and done ours, but they do one with the board too.
More than likely, it will be an online one if they aren't doing much in person this year at all.
And if an individual does, we can discuss it that way. If more than one of you goes, we have to do it as an open public meeting.
Or you can make a motion that you don't want to have an entrance exam. And then nothing will happen.
Yeah, or you can do nothing.
So Commissioner Merritt is not interested. I have been to several of those. They are boring and I am not interested.
What one would that be anyway?
What do you mean?
Oh, what date?
Yeah, you would have to discuss it with them if it's you. So we
So if
would
you are
give them
interested in
your.
that, Commissioner Plath, that would be up to you to schedule that.
I think I might be interested in that, just to see how the initial. thing
Okay.
goes.
Yeah.
So,
If you've not been to one, you should
Yep,
go.
okay, yeah, at least one, try to go to one.
I've been to several.
And I don't know what the auditors want, so just to cover our bases, can we do a motion that we'll do, that Commissioner Plath will be our representative for the board's entrance conference?
Okay, so I'll make a motion that Commissioner Plath will be our representative at the entrance conference with our state auditor.
I'll second that motion.
Okay? All in favor?
Okay, so Mike will get a hold of you.
Right there.
Yep.
Policies 108, 525, 717, and 501. Questions?
The only question I had was on 717,
Okay.
and I think it was on page 47, if I can get my computer going here. There you are. It has to do with accident investigations.
Yeah.
And on page 47, there's 2 things that are really highlighted there.
Yep.
And as I thought if it's that important, something like that maybe should be sooner. So when you first see it, see the policy, it's right there. That's rather than having to weed through the thing to get to it. But I don't know if that goes, and that breaks the order that we're trying to follow.
Yeah, the most we would do is put it up to 3.1 because, at the start of 3.1, which that is the end of 3.1. So it's fairly at the beginning and we kind of left it in the order that it would flow of when the accident happens and what you do. And so even though they're really important, they wouldn't be put in that position until that point of the policy, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I understand that,
Okay.
but I mean, if we're doing it, somebody, if they haven't looked at it recently, might just start doing some of the stuff that's listed there, oh, here, it's not on the first page, okay, and just,
And our policies are for training guidelines, right? So that nobody has this policy when the accident happens. So we expect them to be trained and understand the policies. Jason, I'm gonna kick it to you because
but
it's
but
your,
this-
it's your people that'll have the accidents more often than not.
But this would probably apply to us commissioners too, wouldn't it? I mean, if like the media would ask us some questions about if there was an accident or something like that?
No, this is more for the person that got involved, right? Like the person driving the truck, if they hit another car, that's what this is for. So you would fall under a different policy, that we have, and that's that 101, I believe.
Oh, okay,
And it also tells you to not talk to the media, to defer to me.
right.
But this is for the person actually driving the department vehicle, it as an employee, and they do something.
Right.
It also is for the battalion chiefs, make sure they know what to make, when the young firefighter that drives the ambulance into the rock and they call, the battalion chief knows the proper things to tell them and explain them what to do and how to do it. All that. I think it makes most sense there as a training perspective, but.
So this policy also covers if we have accidents here in the facility.
Correct.
Let's say a vehicle would hit something here in the facility, we would use this site.
Correct.
Okay. Like if a mirror got hit or something like that, we'd still use something like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Same thing if somebody just gets hurt, as an accident, it falls under this policy and the injury policy.
Sure. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I would make a motion that we accept policies 108, 525, 717, and 501.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Resolution, service delivery. Resolution.
And this is just a way to, again, this is up to you guys. It's non-binding. There's no, it's really taking the standard to cover and using this and policy 108 together gives the public a quick view in a couple pages of what the important things that the standard cover said we should and do and that we agree with and that we're making a priority. That's really all this is.
Yes. So is there any questions about the resolution? About the wording or content? Then I will make a motion that we adopt resolution 536.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Excellent. Part-time firefighter staffing on.
Yes, so this is probably the biggest change of the meeting. So I had all of our interim deputy chiefs kind of looking at the part-time program, and then when Jason and Greg were hired as the full-time deputy chiefs, that was basically the first big project to look at, was come up with a new model for our part-time programs. And one of the bounds I gave them is I wanted, like we talked about in the budget presentation, I wanted a model that gave our part-time firefighters more consistent training, comparable to our full-time firefighters, so there wasn't a discrepancy. And then I also would like a more consistent staffing model. If we can get people working with the same officers more often, it builds a stronger team. The amount of administrative time that the battalion chiefs were putting into staffing was a little bit out of whack. That it's not good use of our battalion chiefs' time. The amount of time that training was putting in to track the training and tie up loose ends was extremely out of bounds. So a model that was much more efficient for our admin staff, that then allows them to focus their time on the larger group instead of small individuals. And also stepped back and said, how much are we paying them? Not just looking at the few other part-time programs in the county, because that's a really small, and you kind of get a feedback loop. So I said, I asked Sam to do it. I said, I want you to look at all entry-level positions around our area in the county. So she went out, as I sent it to you, looked at all kinds of different positions, and we were clearly one of the lowest, if not the lowest. And so we kind of stepped back and looked at,
Yes.
how do we pay and why do we pay? And if we're going to expect more out of our part-time staff, more hours, more training, more consistency, then should we give them more consistent pay too? And so that's kind of what this whole program does, is just sets us up on a, I think, a better path to have a more consistent, more well-trained, part-time program. You guys put it together. So anything you would like to add, either one of you see? Vincent?
Yeah, I would say the biggest shift is going, honestly, for the part-time program, we typically go on what hours they put in the system, CrewSense saying they're available. And that makes it a challenge because you got 12 or 15 part-time people that are plugging in their dates. And of course, it doesn't always fill the staffing needs on certain days that we need them. So we're looking at switching that over to an assigned shift, much like a career person would be. You're assigned to a part of a particular shift, with some flexibility that if some of those dates don't work, they can trade with other part-timers to get off of a Wednesday and work a Saturday if that is more convenient for them, or potentially move to an open shift if there's an opening on a date that fits their schedule a little bit better and that fills the staffing need, then they'd be able to move those dates. So that's probably one of the biggest changes. However, I think we're probably the last remaining part-time program that doesn't schedule that way. I think we've held on for a long time on the volunteer concept that we're just happy when you show up whenever you can give hours, and we need to kind of switch that over to, we're running a business that needs to put bodies in the fire station on a consistent basis. And so that was our goal. That was our challenge, and probably the biggest challenge to that program. And I think this, as presented, gives some benefits and some pay. So there is some incentive to having people work with us on figuring out our staffing needs. And it is a challenge, not only for District 4, the challenge for the whole county.
Yes.
If there was 100 part-time people that were qualified that were looking for jobs, we would have 30 part-timers in here. Right now, we are at 13, and that's including the 3 that are in the academy. And out of the 13, we have 2 currently that are on a leave of absence. So we're really down to 11. So we're at historic lows, not by choice. It's just kind of the way the industry is going, and we're in the same boat with everybody else. So maybe some little bit better pay incentive and some other benefits might be able to attract and retain some more members here in District 4 is the hope, and give us the consistency that we're looking for.
So I could talk for an hour about this. I'll try to keep it to 1 minute. So, is there enough flexibility in the system for somebody that's got a full-time job?
It would be difficult, but that's actually the worst part of the program. In other words, we don't do the same amount or type of training on Saturdays, Sundays. That's just not the system. And so somebody that can't work Monday through Friday makes it extremely administratively difficult.
Right,
to keep them.
understood. So now the next question, I figured that.
Yeah.
But I had to bring it up. So the next question is, how many of those 11 people will drop out because they cannot meet the schedule?
We are guessing 1 to 3, which is a loss of about 220, 240 hours.
Okay.
The ones left will be working more additional hours than 240. So we'll be a net gain of hours. We may have a net loss of bodies.
And
But that's
How many people would we expect over, let's say, the next 6 months to pick up?
Well, our,
Because of the change in pay and,
so our target will be, now that we are back to running training and having a way to do it, in their plan, their target is 12 to 18, correct?
18.
Yeah.
So we want to run it at 12 to 18, and I haven't told them this, but I told them this in other issues, but we probably want to be able to go up to 20 or 22, because if we want 18,
yeah,
if we only ever get to 18, we'll never be at 18.
right.
So we're somewhere between that 12 and 22 range is where we want to start shooting for. And now that we have a plan and a number, I am more comfortable giving them direction to go recruit to that number. Before, we just didn't know, right? It was just take what you can get, when you can get, how you can get. And so now we have a plan, we have a target, we have a way to get there, we have an expectation of how we want to train them, how we want to roll them into probation. So we will start to ramp up our recruitment and hiring of part-time personnel if you accept this.
Right.
Um,
So I understand that, I'm gonna say this publicly, I'm gonna understand that this will cause us to lose a couple people, a couple long-term people. And that's not pleasant, for them or us.
And we don't know for sure, we're just guessing. If you accept this, we will start individual conversations with all those and work to try to figure out how we make it work for both people. So we are not trying to exclude anybody, and we want to retain all of our current employees. We just want to make sure we do it in a way that's effective and efficient for the organization.
And that's the problem. The problem is that change is never easy.
Correct.
Nobody likes change. But as somebody said, if you keep doing the same things you've always done, you're gonna keep getting the same things you've already gotten. And that's not where we wanna be. We wanna continue to improve. And unfortunately, that requires change.
And the medical insurance, it seems like a lot, it's $800, but that's pretty low for the increased hours and what it costs in our labor cost. If you accept this, that'll be coming to you in policies, and there's other discussions we have to have about that. But if you accept this general plan, then between now and the end of the year, you're gonna get a bunch of policies that have to deal with how do we implement this and how do we deal with it.
Right.
When we get a total dollar amount, I know it's gonna be difficult, at least right now, the total dollar amount on what this part-time program would cost.
Yeah, so Mike, for the budget, he took our, I don't know what number you used, the 12 to 18, so what number did you take?
I think I have 18.
18, so he took 18, in our thing, we said at minimum 196, up to 144, so he took an average of those costs. So the figure for pay that you see in that line item, and he added in medical did we choose a half? We had to pick a number, because not everybody gets
I
medical.
think I put medical in for most of it.
Okay. So that's all in the budget.
First thing, yeah.
This
just
ju-
paying for the employees. So.
This plan, this pay scale, this plan, these hours with medicals, all in the proposed 22 budget. If you decided not to do that, we would back that out and readjust.
What about, well, I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, including like attrition, like people getting training, leaving, like what is it the total cost per year to have a part-time program?
Again, it's about that, because again, the reason you had the $91,000 increase in recruit schools, because we budgeted, assuming we're gonna be able to get, how many part-timers are we figuring for this? We won't be able to get them obviously in the February, March academy, because, well, no, we did, we found 3 in there,
Three spots.
3 there, and how many in the fall academy?
Three more in the fall.
So we budgeted six part-time people into the academy, so that's that training cost, and so
What's the total dollar amount?
it's about 8,000 a person. You don't know, the reason we don't get them until
I'm
the
talking
end.
about the part-time program.
Yeah,
The whole entire thing.
just a
You know what
sec.
I'm talking about?
Yeah, so I can get it to you in rough math. So another, 8 times 10, 80, or 553. I would say we're about 650,000 when that doesn't include the admin time of the BCs and the training. That's recruit academies, pay, and if we provide medical.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
And I think it is gonna be challenging. Like your point about attrition, right? We get a couple out of the academy, they may get picked up in the next 6 months to 8 months. So now we're down lower and we're recruiting more and then, you know,
You just.
it is a evolving game within the county that, our goal will be 12 to 18. We may come back in 6 months ago, we can't find them and we can't find them fast enough, but that is our goal is to try to get to that number, for staffing.
And we remember when we brought you a plan for the sending to the academy, we understand that putting through the academy puts us at a little bit higher risk of losing them. And so they have to pay us back if they get a job within 12 or 24. 12, if they leave us within 12 months of graduating the academy, they have to pay us back a prorated amount for the academy. So they can't use us as the bill payer for their training to get a job somewhere else. And so we felt that 12 months of shift coverage was worth that money. And so again, we are continually trying to evolve, and we will, the one thing that we want to get better at as an organization, like Jim said, is not waiting 5 or 6 or 7 years to change. We are continually evaluating our process on a monthly, yearly basis. And so we will try to stay ahead of the game so that we're making small changes as we go and not a big change like this.
And I can just state, coming from the battalion position, that if we execute this plan, most of the staffing needs can be identified in possibly December for the whole year, including part-time. It wouldn't account for a part-timer that gets picked up or hired or leaves. But we essentially, instead of month to month, asking the part-timers, what are you available, so we can plug in the schedule and figure it out, we will have, my goal is to have the staffing mostly done. Not every hole might be filled, but most of the staffing part-time, they'll know their schedule for a year. And they'll have the ability to trade, but much like a career, they'll be able to put it on their refrigerator at home and say, that is my schedule for the whole year. I can now plan events around it, as opposed to us contacting them 30 days in advance saying, what are you available? And that frees up a lot of BC time. If we can get the battalions to where they're just staffing, like sick leave call outs and everything else is pretty much done, that would be a bonus, because the battalions spend a lot of time working their magic to get bodies into stations and keep the stations full.
You know, one of the things that struck me is the first month or two I was here as the deputy chief of operations. Greg, as the training officer, did 4 live burns on weekends, or 3 live burns on weekends, excuse me, for 4 part-time people. So you got to have the training officer there, you have to have the safety officer, you have to have the burn boss, and you have to have an engine company there. And so, and it probably takes 4 hours to set up and put them through. So, you know, you're talking, 10 people for 4 hours, 3 times. So, 40 man hours times 320 man hours to get 4 people training. That's hugely inefficient.
So the schedule that you had here with the platoon, that's the full-time schedule for the full-timers, or that?
It's the
is that
current
what we're
schedule,
working towards that?
It is the current schedule the full-time guys are on. So they're currently on the 2 days on, 4 days off. So we would, for part-time, divide it up and do day 1 would be a shift, for part-time, day 2 would be a shift. So the part-timers would be on 1 shift on, 5 off, and it's adaptable to any schedule. So even if the schedule changes at any time, we will figure out a way to adapt that schedule. But essentially they'd be scheduled 1 day on, 5 days off the entire year. And then they would have the opportunity to trade or move. I can't work that Tuesday, but I can work this Sunday. You have an opening and a need, and be able to move some of those to try to be a little bit flexible on that end
So the full-time are on a 48.96, and so the part-timers would be on a 24.120. And so it perfectly matches. So basically, a part-timer is working exactly half-time.
If they wanted, just to be clear too, I think in that proposal to qualify for insurance, if that was provided, they would need 6 shifts and on average, they'd be 5. So those that want insurance that say, hey, I value the insurance and I want it, we would have to identify 1 additional shift most months where they'd have to pick up in order to qualify.
And I think this transition time where we don't have all 18 people on, they're gonna have 6 months to a year for the guys that have other jobs to kind of be able to trade out and keep themselves going. And finally, as they start filling up, they'll have less and less opportunity to trade that away. And I think it'll be a little slower transition than just it's happening right now. So,
And I've had some conversation with some of the part-timers, but not all of them. And part of the challenge is some of them don't work during the day, so I don't see them unless I stop in the weekend. And we wanted to at least have the opportunity to talk to the board and get approval. If that happens, and we'll have an additional communication with seeing how we can work with everybody on this.
The other thing I didn't see anything in here about is that some of the part-timers now probably haven't been to the official school.
Yeah, and we wouldn't,
Right, so would they be some that would go to like the 3, or is this for
It's not,
totally
it's
new
not a
people?
requirement for part-timers.
Totally new people?
yeah, totally new, because
Okay.
we've trained them up to that level over time. And so with the new people, all we're saying is, hey, we don't want to take, the old system took a year or 2 or, different amounts of time depending on what point in history you look, but it was a year or 2 for most cases. And so with the academy, we're not saying we're giving them different training. We're saying we want to compress that into 3 months so that we can get them out and working shifts versus taking a year of training. The other thing it does is that year is being done by our company officers that have other things to do. And so by putting it into the academy, we are paying the academy to say, hey, we would rather just pay you to get it done in 3 months and spend all your time training them than our officers taking away what they have to do in the stations to train them here and there. And so the level of training isn't necessarily better at the academy. It's more condensed and focused. And so I do think you get more out of it by going to the academy. But it's not substantially, we wouldn't take somebody that's been on 5 years and send them back to the academy.
Do we need a motion? All right, I'll make a motion to accept the part-time firefighter program. Okay, same.
And I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, and then,
And this is the first draft, because again, everything's in a draft in my mind, but this is the idea of our organization chart going forward. We've had a lot of moving parts and we can kind of settle on it. We can get some job shadowing done to prepare for those future retirements. And so you don't need action on this. This is just really informational item to kind of show that we're going to have 3 divisions. I hope in the future, these divisions will start communicating directly to you, the board, with the things that are going on in their divisions. So that you can get more direct information from them. Any questions on that?
The order up here on the top
Uh-huh,
is, there's nothing to that order, right?
correct.
Okay.
I'll be honest, that's whatever Christine decided to put it to make it look nice for you.
Okay. Well, I was, look at all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, there is no order.
Okay. All right.
Like I said, I, as all fire chiefs do, designate a kind of a hierarchy of importance. And right now it goes Chief Gatterman, Chief Hodgkinson, Chief Osborne. And if Chief Gatterman retires, logically, I think you would know it would go Chief Hodgkinson, Chief Osborne.
if I retire, you say that like that.
I'm not letting you that easy.
Part of that, I think, is for the listening public.
Yes,
So
Yes.
that's the reason I bring this up
Yep.
like that, so
Yes.
And that's why I explain it like that.
that's all right. Thank you.
Yes. Part of that organizational, is, a replacement, reshuffling of staff positions and replacement of some people. Part of that is a additional, deputy chief, which will reorganize and restructure our duties. And so you, in front of you, you have a contract for, deputy chief, Van Frater, which would be the deputy chief of admin, to take most of, Mike's job, duties when he retires, and some other office duties that have been vacated.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve that contract.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Nice. And so that brings us to contract, proposed capital expense budget.
And this is just a more detailed, it's taking the operating expense that you, so you don't, you can take action on it, but you've approved the actual transfers into it. But in the past, we never really put a line item to the expenses in the capital thing. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to look at it and then approve the line items of the capital budgets, so that we can understand that and be on the same page with that. So if you look, F70, that first one on page 81, you've already approved that fully. And then you go to this F71, the bond, we don't use that. Page 82, F72, the donation fund, and basically the line items, 6401 and 4901, that is what we will use, as I said before, to purchase the Lucas CPR device. And then if you go to F75, you have the line items of 6,000, 6401, 6402. Those are the line items that I showed you that will do the hose, the MDCs, the staff vehicles, the engine. I think that was everything in there. Did I miss anything? Okay. Then you go to page 83, which is F76. That's the training center fund. Again, that's just normal operating, nothing special in there. F78, it's just the two expenditures of the general repair and maintenance as needed and the architectural professional services. And then F80, the only expense is the budgeted amount for the planned retirements. So we went over it all, but technically the capital budget is different.
So would you like a motion to approve the capital budget?
Please.
I'll make a motion, we approve the capital budget as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And next is the draft revenue. And again, that you will approve this via resolutions when we get the finals. But I have Mike here, and he will be gone for the end of November, right?
Yeah, leave the 17th.
So we hope to have the final numbers for the county by the 5th. But if you have any questions, we're here to answer. This, like I went through it in the presentation, this just shows the different options we have, the revenue and the change from 21 to 22. So I will answer any questions.
Questions?
When does the new construction money show up? Is that a certain time every year, or does that vary by when the assessor?
Well, it varies on when they pay their taxes. So on new construction, you don't pay taxes while you're building, so you pay it the next year. And so that just, they get charged at, I believe, the full amount or the previous year's rate. I don't know exactly for sure on that. So that's just how they do it. I think it must be the full rate
I think so.
for the, yeah, so for the new construction. Then after that, then they just fall into the regular tax rolls, so. It always-
The difference about the new construction is it doesn't count towards the percent that we
Right,
got.
yeah.
And that's the only reason they keep it out, because the first year it goes in, you get it, you get all of it. And then after that, the second year it falls into the 1, 6, 3, whatever our levy
Yeah,
requires.
okay.
Yes.
And that varies from year to year, obviously, and from, you see it's different between EMS and fire is because fire covers everything. And EMS doesn't cover forest lands, any other that kind of stuff where fire covers or agricultural land or stuff like that, so. But then assessed values are different. And the new construction is often way different.
So you will see this at least once more. And feel free to ask us questions as if they come up over the next couple of weeks.
We don't need a motion on that at the moment.
Correct.
Then we go to staff vehicle purchase.
Staff vehicles, we need to replace one, allow one to go on reserve, and an additional one because we between the person in training and the new DC, we need some more. It allows us to get rid of the 2009 Escape, to surplus that, I shouldn't say get rid of, and allows us to put in the 2007 into reserve to use as needed. Cars are extremely hard to get these days. I don't know if we recall the last one we ordered got canceled. And I was told that these orders would be, they only opened less than a month ago and that they would be closing at any time if we didn't order them right away.
So I'll make a motion, we approve the purchase request for 3 vehicles.
I'll second.
I have a question. They get covered under our insurance, right?
Yep.
And so is that built into the budget too, the extra insurance for these vehicles?
It's not necessarily, because we don't really know, but it's really minimal. I mean, these, when you're talking about, all of these don't even add up to one ambulance. And it takes about 3 ambulances to do an engine. And so our insurance it's pretty minimal, and we'll be getting rid of, so these 3 will come on, but next year the Ranger and the Escape will go off. And so we have 3 on, 2 going off, and they're pretty minimal.
It's like $300 a year, $350 a year, I guess, real minimal, yeah.
So what do? We auction the ones off or?
We'll
Look for bids? or-
We'll surplus them and
Okay.
we'll probably use the website that Gary's looking at. That'll come to you. We'll have a plan for that.
Okay.
We've done a couple of different kinds of things over the years.
Okay.
Get rid of vehicles.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. Well, that brings us down to section 10. District and staff and work group comments.
Bill, do you have anything? You got everything?
Well, I started adding it already in this year's budget, but when you look at that, like what we're looking at for the capital stuff, there's 2 of our funds, the F-70 and the F-71 that still are getting tax money in. So I put that as a bottom line in below the budget where it shows how much we have in the bank. Just so you guys can kind of track that yourselves.
Okay.
Currently right now, we only have $48.40 we're owed F-71, and then we're going down slowly at a few dollars a year on that. And then the other one was 5 million, and we've already, that'll change every month, obviously. Right now, our tax time is coming, so the next couple of months that'll drop significantly. It's still out there.
Okay.
I sent you guys out a operational report for September. That was my first go. Your last board meeting, you guys approved a contract with Fire Stats LLC. So they gave us some stats. So bear with us as we learn how to interpret and how to present that. The data will get better as time goes on, because now we know what kind of data on our input will be better, which means our output, what we provide to you, will be a little bit more dialed in. So that was my first operational report using some of those fire stats from that company. I also sent you guys an email, and I'll probably do a better job next one, add some particulars of what happened over the last month that wouldn't be part of that fire stats. And so I just wanted to Reiterate that the local and the part-time members did a MDA drive last month, and our small little town always, for some reason, does really, really well. And they raised over 16,000 to go to muscular dystrophy.
Wow, impressive.
So that's like, our local for our size town, we've been in the top 10 numerous times, and that's competing against a lot of bigger jurisdictions. So we have a very, giving town when it comes to the MDA driver. We do a good job at it. Couple working structure fires in the last month. Had a bedroom fire down, just east of town. The First In Engine Company, did a really nice job on keeping it to the bedroom and a little bit of extension to the attic. A couple shifts ago, Bill had a working mobile home fires. We've had a few fire related calls. I just pulled some stats just to kind of see where we're at call volume wise for the year. And as of today, we're on pace to be about 300 calls up from last year. So we're about 7.5% at this point, if it continues at the pace that it's continuing, increase in call volume. And then just to loop back to the part-time program changes that we're making. 2017, we had 26 part-timers on the books. 2018, we dropped to 24. 2019, we maintained at 24. 2019 COVID hits, we start heading down to 19. Currently, again, like I said, we're at 13 with 2 being on the leave of absence. So we're not different than anybody else, but we have had a decline. And I mean, when I came on the department in 1990, we had, I think, 90 something. So it's been harder and harder to maintain that force. And we're trying to change some things to hopefully prolong that and work with them to get a viable program again. So that's all I have for an operation addition to what I sent you guys.
So I'm guessing that this data that you're getting, we should probably hold off asking for specific changes or anything until you have a few months to sort it out and massage your reports.
Yeah, and what I provided in the report was just a fraction of what they gave us. I picked out a couple highlights that I thought were important, like the mutual aid, hour utilization. So a lot of people get fixated on, we went mutual aid this many times, we received it this many times, and that is an important number, but equally as important is how many hours did your unit spend out of service?
Mhm.
So if we're getting dispatched to Lake Stevens all the time but cancel, we might spend, numbers wise, it might look high, but we spent hardly any hours out of service. Whereas Lake Stevens comes here and transports every time they come in, then their hours may be high. And that stat was about where I expected it to be. We were 95 given mutual aid, 120 mutual aid received, and the hours were 46 to 54. We were on the plus side, 8 hours. So other communities gave 8 hours more than what we gave them in mutual aid. So it's relatively close to being equal, but I know some people, it's all relative to time. They may feel on this particular day, we do a lot of mutual aid because they did, but over the month's time, it equals out. It's pretty close to being a true mutual aid.
Excellent.
That's all I have for you guys.
All right, well, thank you very much. Anybody else?
Jason, I just want to tag a little bit on what Jason said and then talk about cold weather for a minute. But we are obviously in competition with other agencies that have part-time staff.
Yes.
And I'm constantly bombarded by them and I contact them as well about, hey, what are you doing? What are your numbers at? How are we going to retain these people? And when the bigger agencies obviously come in and have openings and do hirings, it's usually not 1 or 2, it's 6 or 10, or in some cases 20 to 50 in 1 year. And who do they want? They want our people, and they want Granite Falls people in Getchell. So we're going to continue to do things moving forward to retain our people as long as we can. Okay? We've got to recruit them, obviously. That generally is not the issue. The issue is having them come through and then retain them. So we're going to just work on ways to do that. I think Chief and Jason and I have talked about some different ways to try and do that. and see how it goes, go from there. And then I just want to transfer over. I've been tracking weather predictions for our winter, and they don't necessarily look real good. So I'll be working with Gary. I'll be working with staff on cold weather emergencies, cold weather training, additional blast to our driver operators about making sure that they're operating their vehicles in the safest manner possible, turning off retarders in truly inclement weather. We had just a minor windstorm yesterday that generated, I think 19 calls in a matter of a couple hours. So that is coming. And then if it is predicted, more snowfall than we're used to here in Snohomish County, which is what we're being told, we'll have to do a little bit of work there from a safety standpoint. And that's all I have for tonight.
Excellent, thank you.
Do we have enough chains for all the vehicles?
We do at this point. Yep.
And we get trained, everybody gets trained, putting them on?
Absolutely. We do drills every year around this time, with the automatic chains as well as the chains that we have to install for every apparatus. Yes.
It's good to hear.
Okay. Me just have a few things I wanted to go over. The Chelan conference for the Washington Fire Commissioners, I will send out the dates for that, and I'll need to get feedback from you guys if you want to attend. The same
I'll tell you
conference.
next meeting.
Was that?
I will tell you next.
Thank you. That's what I was hoping
Gonna
for.
attend or not?
Also, I would say to put on your radar, the conference that we just went to will be in Spokane next year, so we'll need to decide if we want to do that. I will send you information on that. Also with that, I'm going to skip down to my number 3, but Jason, Greg, and I just went the week before the Chelan or the Tulalip conference. We went to an arbitration conference in Seattle, 1-day conference about arbitration law and how to prepare and deal with that. So just updates on some of that. Wanted to let you know that I've already let you know, but tell the public we've made 3 job offers in the last month. 1 you just approved, the deputy chief contract, 1 paramedic and 1 firefighter. 2 start December 1st and 1 starts December 13th, right? Yep, okay. So we're in the process of that. Update to the vaccine mandate. We're at 90% vaccinated. We have 1 exemption that's approved, and we are working through the accommodations for that person over the next couple weeks. Security, I would like to, you kind of reminded me when we had the class at the conference about this IT security. And so after the first of the year, Greg and Bill are going to work on trying to have our new contractor come in and give an update of what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it as it relates to our system, to you, the board, at a public meeting. Next meeting, next 2 meetings from now, 11/22. The consultants are going to provide the board the first draft from the committee of the strategic plan so that the commissioners can have a look at it, ask questions, and start giving their input to that plan. And the hope is that you will be able to ask questions, give input, make any changes. The consultants can make any changes that you desire, bring you back a plan on December 13th. If you want to ask more questions, do whatever, and then be able to either adopt it then or soon after then, so that we can have a strategic plan done near the first of the year. So that's the plan for that. We will be having all district training on March 2nd here. So all staff will be in attendance at that. And then lastly, we're going to start coffee with the chief every other month or so. It'll be printed in the newsletter, and so allow the public to come and ask questions of me, someplace local in our district, mornings, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, to give people our opportunity. So you will see some of that coming out.
All right.
And that, I believe, is all the updates I have.
Excellent. Commissioner comments?
The last time we met, I think I had indicated I wanted to go see the brush truck,
Mhm.
and it was gone. It was like So where is it now? So I could go look at it.
It is back to Yakima to fix some things that we found with it, so it's not in the county.
Oh, okay.
Yakima's
I
only
guess
a
I'm,
couple
I'm not gonna go to Yakima. Okay, so well, I'm glad
So-
we found some stuff.
Yeah, so
Take care
when,
of. So-
yeah, we found some stuff that we didn't like, and they have been great to work with, and they said, we'll come grab it and take it back and fix it, and we'll get it back to you when we have it the way you want. And so,
Okay.
Gary and Greg are kind of leading that up.
Okay.
And so yeah, it's
So
not,
we'll go see it for another month or so, or whatever.
yeah, I don't,
Whatever.
yeah.
Hopefully sooner.
Hopefully
We'll-
sooner.
Yeah, we shall see.
At the Washington Fire Commissioner Association meeting, they had an interesting panel discussion with firefighters, chiefs, and then police. You know, what police will support us and so forth like that. And do we have a pretty good plan here with the local police here to help support us and so forth like that?
Absolutely. This all came out right as Jason was getting promoted to DC, and that was probably one of the first things he did. So he immediately tied in with our Snohomish Detachment Commander. I don't know his exact title. I'm not good with police titles, but Palmer, Chief Palmer.
Palmer, yeah.
Um, and they have been extremely helpful and supportive, and basically, they don't feel there will be much change, especially safety. So how they interact with the public or the patient, if it's us there, will change. That's what the law was intended to do, is change how they engage with the patient. But as far as coming to help us and be with us and assist us in making safe and proper decisions, that won't change. They will still be assisting us as we need. Anything you want to add to that, Jason?
No, I would say from time to time, we'll hear, some of the crews will report that it wasn't the normal response prior to that legislation. But so far, knock on wood, no major issues, and crews that maybe stood by longer and had to do some more communication before they committed resources. But I haven't, few exceptions that I've heard that maybe there was a delay or they weren't available but so far, not a lot of impact, thankfully. And we do have a good relationship.
That's good. Yeah. Those are my comments tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
So my comments also center around the Washington Fire Commissioners Association conference, and there was, as is always the case in these conferences, there's some really, really good sessions. There's some that are okay. And once in a while you get a bad one. I don't think I had any bad ones this time though. They were actually pretty good, and several really good, especially one that almost everybody missed, and that was Saturday morning leadership. PTSD and leadership talk was excellent. And probably the best one of the bunch, but then the IT thing was pretty good, the security thing. Of course, our attorneys, Brian Snur's Wednesday night thing was good. It was a good conference. Well worth it.
Good.
And if that's it, any other comments from anybody? One last time, going once, going twice, and we will close this meeting at 21:38.